journey of self-discovery, where we've become disconnected from our feelings. When we're disconnected, we don't own and occupy our space, and other energies then are allowed to move in and through. We respond, we react when we feel these feelings that we disconnect from. They'll run us, they'll own us, and we sit outside of our space. But right now it's important that we can move within the wisdom of our heart, which allows us to occupy the now in our timeline. If you find that you are moving in your past of regret, of feeling unloved, not being good enough, shame, guilt, fear, this will then propel you forward, maybe even in disassociating and jumping to a future picture of having such big dreams that you can't even take a step and ground your way. So as the space we are in is filled with energy and emotion, and spaces affect what moves through us. But if we can really just acknowledge the space and the energy in the space, and just like a wave, we can allow it to pass through. And as you allow it, it can heal different aspects inside of you. One of the key aspects is to explore our thoughts and how our thoughts can separate from our feelings. This can manifest by us rationalizing, by actions that don't really align with our emotions. We can say one thing and completely do another. Or this is where maybe you're afraid to speak up in your truth from fear of being rejected or not loved. This will divide or create division of our emotions and our thoughts. And it's important to recognize how we've been emotionally deceived, which shapes our perception, and it hinders our ability to effectively channel our energy and grow. We can be deceived by others and maybe what they present to us, and we didn't quite read the picture right. And once we find out who they really are, it was all a lie. But self-deception is one of the biggest areas of how we deceive ourselves, because we were not allowed to feel. If we weren't allowed to feel, then we brush off our feelings and won't allow ourselves to let that energy run through. And if it doesn't run through, it starts to kind of like a well or a reservoir, starts to collect energy. And energy that doesn't move then starts to get reflected in our external world. And it starts to continue to create a reality of something false. So living in alignment with our emotions is the well-being, and what those steps involve. It involves a picture of truth. You have to look at kind of where there's a lie, where there's truth. If things aren't working in our life, it means that we have lies within our space and there is no truth. The second thing is it involves unifying our emotions and our thoughts and understanding their interconnectedness. Our thoughts can separate us out from our feelings, because our thoughts then can start to judge how we're feeling. The moment you have this judgment is the moment that you create that divide, which keeps you up above the current or the tide. When we drop into our heart, now we can feel. And the feelings may feel so real, but we're just letting them pass through. They're visitors as we're on this ride. It also entails allowing our energy and emotions to flow freely. Our heart is like the waves. If you're walking along the beach, you're feeling the waves move through you, move in and out. And just because you're experiencing different emotions, different feelings, this is kind of what the heart picks up on, because it knows vibration. And if we can just let things pass us, then it doesn't become you. It's just moving through, a passerby. Living out of alignment with our emotions really involves us creating false pictures denying our own truth or our emotions, and this leads us to duality between our feelings and our thoughts. And when we become divided as a result of our emotion and our energy, then we get stuck and we get trapped, and it prevents us from recognizing our essence, our truth. We get trapped many times because we get entangled because we're looking and our attention is connected to someone else or that lie. And that energy of that lie starts to come into our space, and we match that reality, as opposed to this vertical acknowledgement when we're connected to Source, to God. Now that light and Holy Spirit comes in with us. Things start to move, things start to grow. We become vertical. In this time, if you can take the time to really just be aware and acknowledge the feelings that you're feeling, by having a flashlight of awareness, you are just saying and acknowledging those feelings. Acknowledging something then means you can accept the feelings. You're not reacting, separating, or dividing. When you can honor your feeling, it's like honoring it means that you recognize it, that it's validated. When you can validate that, most people don't want to honor their feelings because they think they'll just be stuck in that feeling forever. But actually the opposite is true. Honoring the feeling is just saying hello to what you feel. And by doing that, now you heal. And that's then how we can start to utilize our emotions. When our energy is stored and stuck, there is no circuit. When we are connected, grounded, it means now we have a circuit. We give, we receive. There's movement, there's flow. One form, it's like I use this analogy of a grape is saturated with energy. It's absorbed like the water. In that absorption, it's in one form. But when you squeeze those grapes, it becomes a wine. And by allowing ourselves to process, to release, to move the energy, we're becoming this vintage over time. So by acknowledging any deceits or denials within ourselves and accepting the vision or the division of where we could feel hate and love at the same times, these are conflicting emotions, but we can honor them both. And when we do, then we can unify them. For energy to move, we need a positive and a negative. And when you go into the center of the heart, it unifies your space, your timeline, and the vertical. And this will then bring us into a whole new transformational growth. So especially over these next 2 weeks, really take inventory of acknowledging and identifying lies and your emotions and accepting them, honoring them. When you can respect an emotion, now you set it free. And not only are you free, but it frees your whole genetic line. Emotions are the key, and by embracing them, you will gain the clarity that you need. Many times there's been a lot of false starts over this past year, and what that has meant is that we think we're going down one path, but then we run out of energy. We run out of energy because we don't have the fuel to move us forward. The fuel is that emotion that you need. When we have a truth, a picture of something that we're going for, and have the fuel, the passion, the desire, now they're aligned. Now we become the embodiment of the reflection of the aspect of God, of what we came here to do. And by creating in the greater whole of the planet and God, you become the whole you. So explore this emotional landscape as you start to understand the ways in which you have been divided or been deceived or looking at the wrong thing, and start to place your attention within. And as you do, your energy will move and spin. So may it be with the blessing of the loving, living light that you all are shining your light, burning bright. Much love.